Okay.
Got that button.
Yeah, we got that tonight. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the CNC Mixer and the CNC Router Tips group. How is everybody this brand new year?
Oh yeah, just like I was last year.
Hey, at least I'm on time.
Don't look any different. Don't feel any different.
Yeah.
I thought Aussies were bandwidth handicapped.
Right. With our government, I
But
don't know. It's a competition between your government and ours. Who's going to handicap the other first?
I'm pretty
We
sure
get
we
given
got.
I,
com
Pretty sure
we
we got a good lead on that one.
yeah, you got something special happening there. Yeah, no, our government did the big market spiel about how we're all going to have gigabit fiber to the door and all this crap. And at the end of it, once they got the money, it just ended up being a rebadged ADSL service, and whatever was there, they just patched it up and logged what they could.
oh wow. No, I have a friend who lives in Surfer's Paradise, and she cannot. She doesn't have the bandwidth to do video.
Yeah, look, if you live in a built up area, like in a major city or a major town, you can get very, very good services. I'm out on I'm not really on the rim. I'm in a major town, and but the thing is I'm only on VDSL. We've got, I think, what they call it is fiber to the node, and that means that somewhere within around about 200 or 300 meters, there's a box on the side of the road where the fiber terminates, and then from there they've just reused the old copper wires, etc. But
Okay.
mind you, I'm getting a good solid 100 meg down and 20 meg up, and I've got a co-located server in a data center, so anything I download or whatever, I keep all my stuff on there, so it's not really that bad. But
That's
it
pretty
would be.
decent.
It is. It is. One of the biggest problems was in the early days. We used to have the old Optus and Foxtel, which is a cable TV provider, and they've reused. Well, the Telstra or Foxtel was a better service for cable. The Optus used to have a good internet over their cable, but was actually very, very good. But when they moved it to NBN, they had a whole heap of incompatibility between equipment and latency issues, and it was shocking. And yeah, we got sold the universe, but we were just given a pink elephant.
Yeah.
At
I'm doing
least you
okay
got the
here.
elephant.
I'm doing okay here. They just put brand new fiber in, and I've got fiber all the way to my router.
That would
And
be
my
nice.
router is allegedly a 1 gigabit mesh system. But I reliably get about 700 megabits download and 250 to 300 up.
Look, it's
So
yeah, look, I wouldn't have a problem having 2 meg. I'm still quite familiar from the older days where you used to have ISDN. Did you guys ever have ISDN in
Yeah, we
America at
did.
all? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you get a good full synchronous connection at 2 meg, it's pretty good. But what I'm finding is you've got an expressway to your house, but the connections between the servers are still, like, there's still issues there with the backbones connecting the other servers. So yeah, it doesn't matter what your router says, what you connect at. It's the server that you're talking to or the web server you're getting your information from.
yeah.
So all this network connectivity talk makes me wonder, are you guys currently connecting your shop machines to the internet?
No. Oh well,
This
they are.
this is my connection from from my this is my connection to my shop machine right here.
Yeah, got one just like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I do have my machines like the one running behind me now, etc., connected to the network, but I do not set up the gateway on them so they don't talk on the internet.
Mhm.
One of the things that I've learnt very early, I was asked to supply a machine to an ex mechanical engineer supervisor for a bus company when he was retiring. They said, I'll get him a machine for his home. And I supplied him with a computer, and him and his wife were using it quite happily, typing up recipes and printing them out, letting their kids do their coloring in. And I installed a few basic games for them. And they were working for years and years, probably a good 6 or 7 years on this machine without any problems, everything working flawlessly. I ran into him at another customer's in the foyer, and basically he's gone, "Oh, Ned, good to see you. I've got to talk to you about connecting my computer to the internet." Well, after that, that was it. I pretty much speak to him once every couple of weeks with problems about email not working, things not loading, things popping up, etc., etc. Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm very much of the opinion that the internet and machine tools don't really mix very well. I know that there are ways to do it when you update certain things on the machines and you know, in certain circumstances, but my machines don't connect on purpose. And
yeah,
that's just my choice. The Tormach Path Pilot system that they use on their routers and their lathes and their mills, they built that so that it could be connected via Wi-Fi, you know, to your router to give them the ability to update it and to keep a backup of your tool database. But I'd rather not have that going. You know, I'd rather take the file out to the computer. There's a less chance of something going wild while my head is sticking inside the machine, you know, trying to clear something up.
look, connecting your
What
machine to your
what are you
local.
putting your head in the machine for?
To clean out the chips. Mine has a full enclosure, so you know, you
Alright.
take it, you put it in the
Don't you have a safety switch on the door to the enclosure or something?
Don't
not
you
on
have a little junior? Don't you have a junior running around you with a broom that you pay?
no to both of those.
Or sorry, gaining work experience.
Yes, no, you put it in emergency stop and you open up the doors and then you shovel out all the
I
stuff.
so
Because it's
I
an
have-
older Tormach machine. It's not the current
Yeah.
ones that have, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we remodeled this house a year ago that my wife had to have, and I let her have it because it had a nice shop out back for me, and it already had the service and heat and everything, and I
Mhm.
gutted it and insulated it, and the landscapers were here, so we dug a trench and laid in a bunch of Cat 6 cables and stuff. So I got everything hooked out there, and I don't know. I got a couple things that I don't know. Probably wouldn't even be able to use without the internet. A couple
Yeah.
tools,
Look,
Yeah.
you can
and
have
then
your
it's easy for me because I can sit in here and do what I got to do on my laptop, and I use Google Drive to save everything, and I just go out there and feed it right to the machine, and see ya, done.
Yep.
But
If I
saying
were-
that, sorry, I was going to say, yeah, saying that there's nothing wrong with connecting your machines locally on your local area network. Just don't enter any DNS settings or gateway settings. Just
No.
leave those blank, and then you can talk to that machine from your PC to upload, or even I've actually got Mark III set up that it picks up the jobs from my design PC. It just makes things easier. Yeah.
If I were going to be connecting it with the internet, there's a few things that I would make sure to do to lock the machine down. I would turn off a lot of the settings in that Windows, and I'm assuming a Windows PC in this case. I would turn off a lot of the settings that do things like auto updates, and you know, I'd be very careful with any firewall settings or virus checking settings that can overwrite things or take control of the timers in the
I
chips.
absolutely, I don't have any of that. None of that's on. That's all off. So there's nothing going on there. But if the same computer that runs my CNC and that it runs my laser in the shop. If I'm out there and I want to be working out there and, you know, talk to you guys or somebody else at the same time, I can do that. So yeah, but yeah, auto updates are, I don't like them, period, no matter what.
Yeah. If you don't put a gateway address into your network settings on the machine cannot talk to the internet, and the internet cannot talk to it. It has no connection to the outside world. And if you don't put DNS in there, it has no chance of finding any external network information like web addresses and so on. You can only access it via the IP address locally within your own system, and you have to know the IP address. So you're safe there. Because that's one of the things I don't like. I hate Microsoft coming in, updating the Windows and stuff like that. There's so many machines that I've had, but Microsoft doesn't update, the machine doesn't do things the next day, particularly with the older machines.
Yeah, Fusion 360. Okay, it's a love-hate relationship with me on that program because it is so powerful and it does so many things. But Autodesk has set it to automatically update you to the latest version as soon as they run it out. And so oftentimes programs that we run on our machines will run one day and the following day they won't. And they don't leave the ability for you to roll back a version to a previous known working version. So it's always hit or miss the first day or so of a new update.
Yeah.
And you know, that's why I prefer not to have auto updates on software.
Yeah. Well, you can't sort of avoid that with programs like Autodesk. Some of them even want to run offline, online as well. So there's not much you can do about that part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, you can run it off. You can run Fusion 360 offline. It does allow that. In fact, I do it quite a bit. But you know, it's just one of the things, you know, with all the connectivity and everything that we have, the Internet of Things, and every little program wants to make changes to your hard drive every few minutes, and that's not really stable.
I coin it as everyone insists that they must help you.
Yeah.
So my Tormach is on Mac OS right now. I have another computer with
It's on what? I'm sorry, you broke up.
Mac OS.
Yeah.
And but I have another computer that's outfitted with PathPilot, but I'm waiting for the company to release the control device that will allow me to upgrade the Tormach to the PathPilot system, which is I think it's basically Linux. But my all my other CNC stuff is on Win 7 with Mach 3.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious.
And none of it has Wi-Fi.
Right. I'm curious. Now you say you're waiting for a device. Is your Tormach an older, like a Series 2 or something?
It is.
Okay. So
It is.
So you never upgraded the stepper motors and the main control board and that sort of thing?
No, there's this board from Mesa
Yeah.
that that I need to be able to use it, and at this point that board is not out.
Are you trying to use
they,
it with the Ethernet or with the
no,
printer port, basically?
This board is a it just plugs right into the bus of the PC.
Yeah,
But
I have one in my machine.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, if you don't have that, you have to come out of the Ethernet port into basically an adapter.
Yeah.
and then that will control the machine. And I've been waiting. They've been threatening to release this board for 2 months, and they just haven't released it yet.
Okay. We're going down the rabbit hole, but for I'm just going to talk about it for a second because I actually know a little about this. There were several steps and several different boards from Mesa that you could have used if you wanted to go to like the Series 3 level
Uh-huh.
of Tormach machine. They had a PC PCIe, something like that.
Yeah,
And it,
PCIe, anything
yeah,
IO card is the thing.
yeah,
I'm looking at it right now.
yeah. They had one of
And
those that had a plug for a DB25 on the end of it. And
uh-huh.
that just acted like the old printer port used to act, and that transferred all the data. Then they came out with the new series for the MX machines and the M machines and all of the newer gray machines that you see out there. They went over to an Ethernet based system, and they changed the main board inside of the electronics compartment. So if you wanted to use Ethernet, you had to buy their board and replace it. And I don't know that there is a board that will go from your Model 2 to Model M, because there was one in between.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, it was called the Superport FPGA based
Yep.
PCIe anything IO card. And apparently I can buy one. Apparently they're available. I mean, as late as last week, they were not available yet.
Mhm.
But apparently I can get one now.
Okay.
So I'm thinking I'm gonna buy one here in a minute.
This is the way it works. We
Yeah.
complained about the problem and then they fixed it.
Well, they told me it was going to be several weeks
Yeah.
before it would actually be available. So I knew I was going to be waiting, but apparently
I'm
it's
curious.
finally.
I'm also curious if you want to buy the first one out the door.
Well,
Macy's
Somebody's
pretty good. You're
gotta.
probably fine.
eh,
Somebody's got to do it.
Yep.
yeah, somebody's got to do it.
Anyway, are you guys familiar with PathPilot at all? Anybody else?
Heard of it, haven't used it.
So Tormach released their own flavor of Linux CNC, and they called it PathPilot. They made enough changes to it that they were able to, private label it and actually charge people for it versus, Linux CNC was open source, etc. You could just, go and download it. The amount that they charge you is pretty minimal. It's like
$25.
$25. Yeah, I was going to say 30. So it's like
Yeah.
$25 to get the little thumb drive that has it on there so that you can load it into your system. But after that, you could use PathPilot on pretty much any type of machine if you're one who can roll up his sleeves and go in and do some settings. But for the Tormach machines, the mills, the lathe, and the plasma cutter, and the so what am I thinking here? Mills, plasma cutters, lathes, and a router table. The PathPilot is already pretty much set up to work with any of those. You just have to put in the specs for the size of your machine. And, then it goes. It is rock solid. It works well. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, but, it's pretty much proprietary for the Tormach stuff in most cases.
Just to expand on what you said earlier, you'll find it's got nothing to do with changes they've made with Linux and other open source software. You're actually allowed to reskin it, modify it to suit your software, and you can charge a distribution fee.
Yeah.
with any of them. So, like if you make your own installation and so on, so you can do a distro fee, but the product has to actually remain free. And then the other condition is that I think you have to leave so that people can see the code. Yeah. So, and you'll find that it's probably still just Linux CNC, but they've just packaged their own drivers to suit that controller card that they're adding, and that's it.
It is definitely just Linux CNC, but the user interface was custom, which you could do with Linux CNC in the first place anyway. You could make it look any way you wanted to, just like Mach 3. They just came up with a nice arrangement for it. And the last week or the week before, they announced the latest version. Apparently, we were coughing across the world at the same time.
Don't spread that stuff all over the place, guys. Come on.
They released a new version that changed the user interface again. Only this time, I think they did a good thing. They threw in vertical monitor support, because prior to this, everything was portrait. No, excuse me, landscape. Yeah, always get that wrong. Everything was landscape. They had the window for entering your G code on the left side, the controls for jogging and things like that, and feeds and speeds right below it, and then off to the right corner there was a small display that showed your tool path, and then below that there were some things that you could turn off and on, like coolant, things like that. Anyway, that was kind of how they had it laid out. But now that they've gone vertical, they took half the screen in a vertical configuration is now your display, so you can see your tool path really well. And then they took all the other controls and they put them down below. So I actually think that's going to be nice. I haven't upgraded in several versions because I am that way. My machine is working. There many of the new features I just don't really need. So, it's a British.
I like the look of Linux CNC. I just haven't, like, why change? I haven't found something that you need to go. I can understand with the Tormac, the older controller probably would have been limited in what it can do and so on. So going to the Path Pilot, you'll get a lot more features out of your Tormac as well. And it's something that they chose to go with, and not a problem. But I've been using Mark III, and I haven't had a need to go to any other software. And I've looked at a couple. The UNCNC and the Linux CNC both look really good. Just
yeah, I have one of each. Yeah, I'm mostly a Mach 3 user on the router end of things. I didn't feel the need to change over to Path Pilot or Linux CNC with my router. It's working fine, and I like that. UCCNC I have on my Stepcraft. So Mike's also got a Stepcraft and uses that.
Do you find any benefits or any features that stand out that would make a difference to change to either of them?
They're all maddening.
Yeah, I mean, Stepcraft has done a lot to that UI on their own too.
Yeah,
from UCCNC. So they've had several upgrades, and I think they've done a pretty good job at that.
What Mach 4 did from Mach 3, it limited you to one PC, one machine kind of thing. That was kind of what they did. Mach 3, you could, put it on as many machines as you wanted to, although from a license standpoint, you were only supposed to limit it to 3. But they did away with that because in Mach 4, each one is tied to the machine ID. I can't remember the proper term for it right now. PID? No, that's not it. Anyway, PCID, I think it is. It's linked to that. When you go to Linux CNC, that's not the case. And when you go to PathPilot, since it's Linux CNC, it's not the case. There was a point to all of this, and I lost that train as the train went by with my thoughts. The thing, okay, UCCNC, they use a dongle, not a dongle, an interface. It's a motion control card that you have to get. It's a USB thing where you can get the Ethernet one for a little bit more money that you plug in. And that is tied to one software license. Okay, so you can,
Yeah.
so if you have two machines, you need to buy two of those. The same with Mach 4. Okay. Linux CNC, I don't believe they have that limitation, or
No.
PathPilot.
Linux CNC is just basically a parallel port-based controller, unless you get a third-party card with its own driver for it,
Yeah.
etc. I actually do have a UCNC controller card, but I bought it to try once, but I've just never bothered, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm done monologuing. If anybody else wants to take it up
But
and
is
give
there
their opinions.
is there something that you can do on Linux CNC or UCNC, for example, seeing as you've got both of them? Is there anything that you can do with those controllers or that controller software that you can't with Mark III?
Probably simultaneous, better simultaneous action with multiple axes above 4. So 6-axis, I think, is a little bit better maybe in Linux CNC than in Mach 3. I'm not sure about Mach 4. I don't have a machine running Mach 4 that runs more than 4.
So basically, if you're in the 3 or 4 axis, it doesn't really matter which one you use. It's whatever you're familiar with at the time or first.
Yeah. PathPilot just added a bunch of stuff that Linux CNC possibly had on its own, but now you can support up to 4 cameras inside the machine, and it'll do just display and record what's going on inside of your machine, that sort of thing. Also, it will send that camera feed directly to your phone so that you can monitor your machine while you're not standing in front of it. Things like that. But I tend to be in the shop most of the time anyway when my machine is running, so that's not really something I was crazy about.
I run just for people that don't have that feature. I have an app for an iPhone called iCam, and it allows you to hook up a web camera to a PC, and it then allows you to use it as a security camera or to monitor it on your phone, etc. And I just use that for monitoring the CNC when I'm walking around doing other stuff, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other than that, I'm really kind of at a loss, and I hope somebody, if they, are out there and they can think of some applications that Linux CNC does that the others don't, let us know. I don't know everything. I never claim to. Yeah.
Well, I thought I might share one. I did a bit of shopping over Christmas. I bought myself one of these little touch probes, the 3D touch probes.
Mm-hmm.
They had the 50% off. I don't think it was really 50% off. It was more like a 1 or 2% off. But anyway, it was 80 Australian dollars for this unit. I haven't actually tested it yet, but I'd just like to report that I'm sort of not very happy with it to start with. I've put it in the I have put it in the spindle just to check how much run out there is on it, etc.
What's the exchange rate roughly? You said 80 Australian. What is
Probably
that
it'll
in
probably
real
be about
money?
50 or
Oh,
60.
geez. Nice,
In
nice,
in gold, 1 second, that's roughly around about 2 grams of gold at 14 carats.
Okay.
But yeah, what I found with it is that the actual probe can be like it can actually be off center, so it may not be correctly centered. So when they assemble it, it might actually be like angled that way, for example. And what they do is they use the 4 set screws on the top to push that, so the actual ball ends up being in the center, but your probe will actually be canted by a whatever fraction of a degree. I'm sort of not really happy with that as a way of centering it, sort of thing. But apart from that, for $79-80 Australian, or probably around about $50-60 American, um, I doubt I could make it for that price at all. Once you put the time and everything in there, I'm just thinking about it. I've already lost money, sort of thing. So, it is well constructed, and I'll let you know how it goes once I try it, sort of thing.
What are you
Seems
gonna
to me,
use it for?
Probing. What my one of the things that I'm working up to, the next thing to do is I want to be able to engrave onto rifle stocks and so on, and other curved surfaces. So basically, doing a surface map so that I can apply a design will be one of the first things. The other one is once I actually set up a proper large 1.2 meter long rotary axis, is to actually duplicate rifle stocks as well.
So, yeah, so the UC CNC and Stepcraft, they have a probe. And I had one of those. It actually worked pretty well. I lent it to somebody, and I have no idea what the hell it is anymore, but I think I
friends.
remember it was more than $80. I remember that part. So but I did use it a couple times for something similar to that, and it actually worked pretty well.
Well, these are normally about $150, and it's still in the home hobby cheap ballpark
Mhm.
for the product. So it doesn't compare to, I can't even think of any of the name brands, although I've been looking at them. It doesn't, like a lot of the high end stuff that you'd use on a tour mark in production, etc. You're up in very many hundreds of, or even tens of hundreds of dollars. But for what it is, and there's not really a lot to them, it's not bad.
um, I seem to recall, and I could be wrong, that if the stylus is angled, that the error will be the cosine of whatever that angle is. That's what the error factor would be, but I could be wrong. So if you're trying to get
Well,
really super accurate on what you're doing, you could check, I guess.
You know, that's true, but uh, the amount of error. I
Yeah.
mean, how much is it? Does
yeah,
it really matter?
it won't matter. Yeah.
Probably not,
The
especially in wood.
yeah, yeah. The one thing that I wouldn't be using it free like that. This is the side with the USB-C port just there. So the way that this would be the direction of movement, and that's the easiest and least amount of pressure to activate the switch. So the in relation to the tester, that's one of the angles. The other two are off the back, the 120 degrees. So if I was testing sort of like that, I would have it come in from there. Then when it comes in from that side, I would spin it around so as that it's using the same direct, or it's using the same angle when it's probing. And generally, most of the stuff when I'm probing, it's center finding, so that would create the repeatability to find the
Yeah.
center. And I don't think the angle of the probe would matter too much if you're doing straight up and down Z probing. But it would matter if you were using the full radius of it to probe around. I could
Yeah.
see error there, but as Marsh said, like
Yeah.
I've got more wobble
Yeah.
on my home. I've got more wobble on my home gantry than than that thing will have error.
Hey, fellas, my wife has gotten home, so I'm gonna go in and give her a hug and stuff. But Bill, the last time we spoke was about 3 weeks ago, and I was working on my Vice,
Mhm.
and here it is.
That's not
Ah,
a vice.
this is the
So,
vice. Yeah, that is awesome.
yeah,
Let me,
I I
Wow.
am very happy with it. It weighs about 60 pounds, and it has a maximum jaw opening of 12 and a half inches. And
So
it,
you're saying that I'll be able to fit that on my 3020 really easily?
yeah,
That's centimeters, not inches,
um,
by the way.
it's, and it's, the screw is a 3/4 inch by 16 thread per inch. Um, So I don't know what the amount of force it's gonna be able to generate is, but it's gonna be a lot.
mhm.
And yeah,
What type of thread is it, Marsh?
it is not an Acme
Okay.
thread. It is just a 16 thread per inch all thread.
Okay. No, just a regular
And
pitch thread.
but it is grade 8. So,
Yeah.
and if you follow my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the build of it
Did you
here Sunday morning.
do you have a specific purpose for making one that big?
I just if you've ever heard of Jason over at Fireball Tool, he built this vise very similar to the one that I just showed
Hmm.
you. And I thought, wow, you could build your own vise, and I just had to do it.
Do it. Cool.
And actually, Bill saw this is the second rendition. Uh, 3 weeks ago, I had actually broken an earlier rendition of that same device.
Mhm.
So,
The
yeah.
fact that you broke the
Cool.
vice just that floored me the first time. But uh,
Yeah. Well, I had a friend that he
I'm gonna
had
snug
to,
that just a little bit.
the task, the task was to press out the bushings of from an A-arm of a Dodge pickup, and that's what broke the vise. This is a 30-year-old Dodge pickup, but that's what broke the vise. And I'm like, we're gonna have to upgrade this.
Cool.
Anyway,
Very cool.
I'm really happy with the result. Ugh.
Well, thank you. It looks great.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Damn, it's heavy.
Well, Marsh,
It looks very dangerous to oneself.
give our regards to
Exercise.
your missus for us.
I can press my bench vice.
Anyway, what that goes on to is a sundial pedestal. It looks like a sundial,
Mhm.
and it's a 2 foot diameter circular plate of steel with what looks like a sundial, and that's going to be welded onto the top of it.
Cool.
So
Very cool.
anyway, I got to go in and say hi to the wife. So
It was good seeing
we'll
you
see you
again, Marsh.
folks
Congrats
later.
on the new
Take care,
vice.
Marsh.
Yeah, see you later.
Fantastic.
So
These
what's everyone
projects.
been up to?
How about you, Mike? Yeah, what you been up
What's
to?
that? Oh, what am I up to?
Yeah.
Besides having a colonoscopy today,
Wouldn't that give you the shits?
yeah, well, that was it's a lot.
That was last night. Yeah,
That was last night and this morning. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
I've been working on a couple of 3D models mostly, and that's about it. Just I've been my my old company that didn't seem to want me anymore now decided that they had a problem and they needed
They
me. So
can't live without you now. Yeah.
yeah, so they got me involved in a couple things and then they came up with 2 more projects. So I'm waiting for some parts to mock up a couple of prototypes for one of them. And I just finished the other one, and then they said, well, we don't have anybody to make the bases. So I said, well, I'll make them, but you're gonna have to pay for them now because you're not, I'm not on consulting retainer. So
hmm
we came up with a deal for that, and I've got 25 of them done. I just got to put 4 more threaded inserts into the HDPE that I cut on the thing, and they'll be done. So that's about it.
Your company deciding that they couldn't live without you kind of reminds me of an old cartoon I saw. There's these 5 managers standing around a guy as he's digging a hole in the ground, and one manager turns to the other, says, times are tough. I think we're going to have to let Manuel go. The one guy who was doing all the work, and they're going to let him go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I was glad actually, but that they kind of, hadn't had anything and didn't really want to pay me anymore. So,
Yeah.
but they got to a certain point where I guess they figured they needed some more help. So,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Now, one quick question. This is a weather question. You're in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah, just south of Boston, about 15 minutes.
What's the temperature there?
It's been cold. Let's see. Let me look on my phone, see what it says. It says 20.
Yeah, we're at 16 Fahrenheit,
Yeah,
which is
it was about 10 this
pretty darn
morning.
cold. You're in the middle of summer down there, aren't you, Ned?
Yeah, I'm just about to convert it.
Yeah, I was doing the same with the Celsius. So I'm at 17. That's 17 degrees Fahrenheit, and Celsius it says it's negative 8.3.
Yeah. Well, we're averaging 95 and going up 100 and over 100, particularly over Christmas, etc. But we've been getting a lot of rain, which makes it worse and humid sort of thing. But yeah.
You're 95 Fahrenheit?
Yep.
Okay, so what's that in Celsius again?
35.
35. Wow.
35 degrees Celsius is the average.
Uh,
That's warm. Yeah, we've had probably 7 or 8 inches of rain in the last week or 10 days, somewhere in that vicinity. Huge amount of rain. Yeah. I went down to the beach house the other day because I haven't been down there in a while, just to make sure everything was all right. And of course the sump pump quit. So there was a foot of water in the basement, which is not that unusual if the sump pump doesn't work. So
mhm.
had to wade in 12 inches of water and then go find a new pump and fix that. But damn, that water's cold. But
Yeah, especially if you had to go outside or anything too.
yeah,
Come
you
back in.
can't get it's an outside bulkhead. There's no access from inside. So and
Mhm.
it's not that big of a there's nothing really down there except for the hot water heater, and that's up in the air. So there's nothing really, kayak was floating around in the basement by itself, but other than that,
Yeah.
weird.
I did some 2D files this week. Excuse me, I'm gonna cough.
I was about to say, what's a 2D file? I just realized it said 2D. Okay.
Yeah, so I did some 2D files this week. making gaskets for an engine for someone. Downside of making that gas, positive it's not going to fit. Exactly.
Wow.
Because
So,
the person took a picture of the gasket
oh, cockeyed.
cockeyed,
Yeah.
and I can't
Wow.
for the life of me remember. There used to be, or there was a feature in Vectric, VCarve, and Aspire where you could scale to an exact dimension instead of dragging everything over. I can't for the life of me, because I haven't done that one in a while. Can't remember for the life of me what that command was, but I know the size of the bolts that are going through this gasket, and if I can scale to those bolts, then everything will be fine as far as that goes. I can figure out the rest, but yeah, just um,
So
it's a
you
brain
have
fart.
so you have the design in 2D already, is that correct?
Yeah.
So why can't you just scale it in your design program?
Um, oh, excuse me. You say no? I drew the gasket from a photograph,
Mhm.
and the photograph is not one to one, and there's no actual dimension in there for me to,
There's
you know,
no, you don't have a reference.
right.
Yeah.
Um,
So-
if you open if you can open a DXF up in most CAD programs, and
yeah, and
so you've
change
got
it there.
so, yeah, so just change it there.
Yes, I could. I'm trying to remember what that stupid function was because I know it's in there.
Okay.
And I was hoping that you guys did. But anyway, I can take it into Fusion or a Libre design or,
Yeah.
some other package that's a full-blown CAD package, and I can scale it no problem. But
Yeah, but if the picture was taken at an angle, it's not
yeah,
gonna be right no matter what anyway.
yeah, it's a slight enough angle that it's probably close enough for what it is. I mean, it's a gasket. It's not going to be perfectly to the edge of the part anyway. You
Right.
know.
Nor Normally when I reverse stuff using a photo, I will actually take the photo, or I'd prefer to scan it on a scanner, and then you scan it
So
through
would
the
I.
DPI. So
Oh,
Yeah.
but if you've got it on a photo, you can just bring it in, draw a circle, like because the gasket's going to have something round, then just stretch the photo so as that it actually fits, and then scale it to what it is from there. But
I
anyway,
mean,
you've got it sorted. Just have to
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
yeah,
It's
I've had a 2D drawing build that didn't have dimensions on it, where I knew that one hole was a half an inch,
mhm.
group the whole thing, put it in size, and go to the bottom, and either by a decimal point or a percentage scale the whole thing.
Yeah,
And that works.
yeah. And that's what I was intending to do. And it's very funny when you're talking to somebody and they said, well, can you just make this for me? And I said, can you do this to get it, take it to a scanner, put it on the scanner, get a scan, put a ruler on there with it, do it. And
Yeah.
no matter
What's a
what you do, they're
scanner?
like, yeah. And on and on and on. And it's family.
Uh,
So so
Yeah.
you know how that goes. And then you're like, uh-huh. And they're like, well, when will it be ready? When will it be ready?
uh,
So yeah. If I didn't love them, I would not have tackled this. But it is what it is. On a normal day, if I were there, he lives across the country, and I had access to that gasket, I'd have run down to Kinko's, slapped it on a Xerox machine with two rulers so I could check the alignment and get that right. Call it a day. We're talking a half-hour project when I get back,
Uh,
but yeah,
Yeah, and that thing I've got, and I had to do that once not too long ago. So that shaper trace square
yeah,
thing, if you
yep,
put it in there and take a picture, it's pretty easy then because it gives you from the things, it gives you a reference, and it
yeah,
also has a mesh or something that it's working
generates, yeah,
to do that with. Yeah. So
yeah. But it is what it is. Normally I'd say, no, no.
So I had a guy that's a friend of mine that's a big Ford flathead guy. And he actually, this happened over a year ago. I haven't done anything with it, but and he had some issues going on, so we haven't got together on it. But he finally called me the other day. He said, "Hey, you think we could maybe start working on that?" So he had a model of which it's an okay model. It's not, but it was a wooden model of a head from a Ford V8, flathead Ford V8.
Hmm.
And then he had all these old drawings with dimensions, I mean, hand pencil drawings with
Oh yeah.
dimensions on them and stuff. He said, "Can you put that in so we can make a couple of, I'd like to make a couple of models of that." So I got to do something with that here pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's always on these projects, the person who's taking dimensions doesn't know that there's a datum and that all dimensions come from that one spot. And so
Yeah.
you get stuff from, you know,
Yep.
it's frustrating, but it's
Just slightly off
um,
topic of CNC, but with what we're talking about, have you guys watched that mini series Harley and Davidson?
Yep. I've seen that.
I
Yeah.
have not, no.
It was more so how they were building the engines and so on for the motorbike in the
Yeah.
early days, how rough it was, but it still worked really well. They were literally
Yeah.
casting it themselves and stuff. It was really amazing to watch.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm actually reading another book now that is it's about the Wright brothers, but it's a lot more technical about how they went about figuring out the testing that they did to figure out the shape of the wings and they built their own motors and how they did that and
Design
so
their own wind tunnel.
yeah, they had their own wind tunnel they made and they did a
The
lot of
first wind
testing on
tunnel,
that.
actually. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, right, yeah, because they didn't even really know what it was. They didn't know what to call it really at first. But pretty cool stuff that those guys did with um nothing compared to what you look at what we have today to work with. I mean, just
Exactly, yeah.
yeah,
There
And
was
I'm sure they had hardly any backlash on their lathes and stuff that they used.
yeah, yeah,
there was a project years ago to celebrate the anniversary of the first flight where rebuilt they built an actual Kitty Hawk or Wright Flyer, excuse me, not Kitty Hawk, from scratch, and they were so intent on it that they were trying to get all the chisel marks on the propeller. If there was a gouge in one spot, they tried to put that gouge in the propeller in
yeah,
the same spot because they figured that might actually affect the efficiency of the propeller. Because those guys experimented with hand tools many times before they got it right, and so
yeah.
they were to be as accurate as possible. But I wish I could remember the name of that series, but they were showing these guys trying to get it together, and then on the anniversary date, they were supposed to fly, but it was raining, and so you know, people from all over the country were there to see this happen, and they had to postpone it for a few days before they could fly.
Was it on a specific subject, or was it just like a generalized series, something like ancient technology or something like that? Or
I think it might have been on the Discovery Channel or Smithsonian, but um, um, they were trying to recreate the flight of the Wright Flyer on the anniversary. I can't remember if it was the 75th or the 25th anniversary, but they built one from scratch. Um, well, yeah. Um, let's see, what year was that? That was 1907, maybe they flew the Wrights for the first time.
What's that?
What year did the Wright brothers fly for the first time? Was it 1907?
No, 1905 was really the
1905.
first time that they flew. Yeah,
Yeah. So um, this could have been a documentary in 2005 '05, or it could have been earlier than that, but you know, it was, I'd have to look it up, but it was, it was quite an amazing, project. They had lots of people working on it from all around the country. Um, one of the hardest parts was building, the engine,
Yeah.
you know.
They didn't have hardly a way to cast metal, never mind anything else. I don't know how they ever got those motors to run, but they did.
Mhm.
They actually had the guy, what the hell's Charles Taylor, I think was his name, was the guy that they had, the two brothers had running their bicycle shop, and he
Mhm.
was the one that actually made the motors
Yeah,
for them.
that's surprising. There's right in front of, where Orville and Wilbur would lay down, to fly the plane. You know, originally they were prone when they were flying. There is, a couple of struts that go up vertically, and on the top of one, on the top and the side of one of those struts is this metal tube, and that was where they put the lubrication, for the engine. It was gravity fed. You know, just lots of little things that are just, you know, hard to believe. I saw the flyer at, the Smithsonian, and they had a lot of detail
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
I gotta get there one of these days.
yeah, definitely worth going.
Well, here's my little project that I've been working on for a while. This one's now just coming up to being
We can't see
finished.
it. Yeah,
How's
you
that?
have to unblur your background probably.
Uh,
Hmm.
so that's the bearing housing with the pendulum.
Oh yeah, for the
Okay,
stairs.
right, for that, yeah.
Wait, let's see that
And
again. I want to see the front. The front is beautiful. That is awesome.
That's
that's
awesome. Very cool.
I'm ripping the last of the crowns off now, and this is the entire housing. There is a bezel that goes over the front of it. So as the carriage rolls along, that's what you'll be seeing.
I
That's
can't wait to see
cool.
that on the carriage.
That's gonna be cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So
awesome.
that's been my project for a while now. It's caved. I'm hoping to have them all done and finished. I'm just got a couple of more pendulums to do and one more crown, and then they all get assembled.
Well, those are, brass.
Everything's brass, yes.
Yeah. Will they gold plate it or any?
Yes.
Wow.
With this one here, I'm just putting the screw on.
Mm-hmm.
The back disc behind the crown will be a burgundy maroon, some sort of
Mm-hmm.
violety reddy. I'm not too sure what color. I think it'll probably match. It's a very, very dark burgundy maroon, almost very encroaching black. But the remainder of it will be all gold. Will be all gold plated, and yeah.
That is so that is so sharp. Yeah. I hope he enjoys.
Huh? Oh, he's already seen one. He's already seen one of them, and he's very thrilled. Yes. Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool that, you know, we have spinners on a horse-drawn carriage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, but
we got to get some curb
the
fillers next.
the project label that
I
I'm
think
using
I
has
think you ought to bring it over here and take a cruise through LA.
Yeah, and then
on
put the
one of those.
speakers
What
in the
the
back.
cattle the
Where all the
Cadillacs that
lowriders
bounce
are,
around.
yeah, yeah.
But the name that I've given these or the project name is I call them the Royal Spinners.
Yeah, that is.
There you go.
I'll tell you, it's awesome. I think, that would be really cool if he blinged it out even further. But,
Maybe we can put some of those jacks on the carriage as
yeah,
as the king
the
rolls
air
around. It just
suspension. Yeah,
bounces the front sort of.
Yeah, a horse-drawn carriage with hydraulic pumps. There you go.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, you'd have to train the
shit.
horses, of course, but
Oh, damn.
I could see that, they all right, I don't want to, I'm gonna stop there. 'Cause,
Actually, hang on, I'll just go get. I don't know if I've shown you guys the belt buckle that I've designed as well. I'll just go get it, but it does look a lot better gold plated. 1 second.
So what have you been up to, Bill?
Mostly,
Besides writing very deep in posts, deep in thought posts, or
yeah,
wrong words, but English is not my
yeah,
strong.
no, I got it. So, I've been writing a new post every day since the new year started. Somebody challenged us to do it, and so that's what I'm doing, and I'm just writing what's ever on the top of my mind at the moment I sit down at the keyboard. So each of those posts is probably 10-15 minutes for me to write or whatever, but it's nothing really crazy. Some of it's been CNC related. Most of it is just stories of things that happen in my family or whatever. But I usually am trying to make a point, not always succeeding. I find I'm better at writing than I am at talking, and so be it. But I'm gonna next week is gonna be almost exclusively CNC stuff. Because you're the folks that I like talking with the most.
And
Anyway,
that's the belt buckle.
Oh wow.
Just a little one.
Why is it called the belt buckle again? What does it go on?
You've got the 4 springs, the curved springs on that the wheels sit on.
Yep.
And there's a leather strap that goes over the tops of those springs, and then it goes underneath the carriage. And what it is the carriage is actually hooked on by this belt buckle, or it used to be.
Okay, and
Now,
that's suspended.
yeah, now there's Kevlar belts and also bars with the Royal Carriage because there's a fair bit of weight there and so on. But it's a fairly hefty belt, as you can see. Like the belt is very, very thick and wide. But yeah, that was the belt buckle that I designed for it. And this one wasn't CNC'd. I CNC'd it in acrylic, and it went to a foundry, and then they cast it in bronze. So this I get to keep this one here because it's not gold plated. The ones that are on the carriage, they're gold plated, and they look really, really nice gold plated as well.
I'll tell you, the samples and the things that you did in the prototyping of making this design should all go in a nice display case on the wall of your shop, or sequentially things that
Yep,
you have.
that
That would be
that's
so
what this
nice.
one's for, and I'll be making myself one of the spinners, but it won't be gold plated. That'll also go up on the wall, and I'm the other one that I haven't got is the crowns that go on top of the lights that I've designed. They cost a lot to get cast. The design went straight to a jeweler's, and they 3D printed it in lost wax or wax, which they then used for the lost wax process. It was quite a few $1,000s to do each crown.
Yeah.
They were sort of like probably about that size. I'll see if I can grab a picture of one.
It's amazing. Yeah. Amazing stuff. You just never know what we'll be talking about on these CNC mixers. I'll tell you. And I like that about it, actually, because you miss one, you miss a lot.
And look, I'm no special CNC shop or anything like that. I was in the right place at the right time. Well, actually, I was referred, but again, it was more right place, right time, and I was working on a project which needed those skills, and my details were passed on. Or sorry, the project that I was actually working on those designs to start with. And then my details were passed on because one of my customers that I set up their CNCs he actually did the undercarriage and the wheels. He did the suspension for the Royal Carriage. So they needed someone to do the crowns. They couldn't find anyone to do the crowns, and that's how I ended up in the picture.
Mhm. You just never know.
Just never know.
When I was posting all these things in my profile this week, one of them I was explaining to folks about CNC, and I think I posted that also inside of the group. And if not, I'll go back and do it now so that anybody who wants to see it can see it without having to track down my profile. But anyway, in that, I was describing how people are creating businesses with CNC, and folks were like, wow, I didn't know you could do that or whatever. And here you are as an example, making things for the royal family
Yeah,
off of this.
like
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Well, it does. It
you're
could, I
right.
suppose. But but yeah, it's not something most of us would aspire to. But wow, it's awesome.
If you I've just posted a picture in chat, and that was the when I had the prototype of the belt, well, the final prototype of the belt buckle cut out, and you can see the springs where the leather straps go over the top.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you can see that's those springs. At the moment, he's got a bracket on there so as that he can lift it, and so he could lift it all on. But later on, that'll actually have the straps going over it. Then those straps, and you can see the carriage just behind me there. The straps
Yeah,
then go underneath the carriage, etc.
all the leaf springs there and
Yeah,
everything. Wow, it's pretty
and
complex.
I'll just grab a find that of the light crowns.
I'm gonna stop that one. Let's see. Yeah, it's really quite something. Um,
That's the crowns that I designed, and I didn't cut those, but I did actually print them in SLA. So I'll either end up, I've got a new way that I think I can actually machine those.
yeah, for those at home
And
there, it's on the screen
yeah,
now. Oh,
and they're pretty big. They're about the size of a baseball. Those crowns, so they're not small. They're all the same size. It's just they're standing on different bits of billets of brass and so on. Um, and the lights look something like.
it's kind of an interesting optical illusion because the one on the right looks much taller
Looks
or much bigger.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it does.
They're actually
Like
very.
taller, narrower base, it makes the top look bigger.
Stop this one and get the next one when you post it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool stuff.
And
So
that's the finished light. There we go.
yeah, it's should take a
Well, it's not
second.
finished. It's still got the lenses to go into it, etc. And there's a piece that goes underneath it. I'm not building the body of the lights. That's another elderly gentleman. Now there's about four of us that are working on the
Mhm.
project for this stuff here. Although there's a lot more other people externally that have been doing things on the carriage and stuff like that. But yeah, the gentleman who's doing the actual light enclosures, he's a metal spinner, and yeah, he's done a brilliant job on them.
So you're taking you're doing a full 3D carving of the crown, and then you're having it
Um,
cast.
no. That crown, I've supplied it as an STL file. The company
Gotcha, gotcha.
that did that made the crowns, they're actually a jewelry company here in Sydney,
Mhm.
and they've got a really expensive SLA printer that prints in wax.
Gotcha.
and then they do a slurry around it and whatever with a foundry work, and then they
Yeah.
carve that. So they burn it out. So that it's the same technique they use to print to make jewelry, necklaces, pendants, etc.
Yeah. So it's investment casting, most likely, and yeah. Then they burn out the wax and then they pour it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. It's beautiful. Just amazing. Um, yeah. Just a little more detail for everybody. This is kind of cool. More than kind of cool. It is cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to find
And
the
metal spinning, funny you mention that, because I've done a little bit of that long time ago, and that is a um very difficult skill to
Yeah.
say to do it right.
Yeah, that's how they make trumpet bells and
Yeah.
um, aluminum pots and things like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, nothing I'm doing is going to top that.
No,
look,
Nope.
not
it's
even
one of
gonna
those.
try.
It's one of those once in a lifetime type opportunities, and it can really fall on anybody.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll be
I
certain that
I don't know
out
how
of
it can
this.
fall on anybody, but we'll yeah.
Yeah.
You got to kind of have some skills to design it there, Ned.
Hmm.
Oh, look, there's a lot of young kids out there that are really good at 3D modeling. I think, and the way that I see it, there's a lot of people that can do all of these things and can do a lot more fantastic stuff, like, building parts for the space shuttle and God knows what. But, it's sort of like where I'm finding it is, back in the 80s, or sorry, back in the 90s, people used to pay out on me because I studied how to do 3D design. That's what it looks like, gold plated. You just can't, like, that just looks beautiful with a gold plate on it. I did a fair bit of I started learning 3D design in Maya and Lightwave. It was like Lightwave 3 and 4 and 5, up to Lightwave 5 was where I was using it. And everyone said, what are you wasting your time on that? And my motivation was more so just 3D model design, game design, things like that. And just using 3D models, that was the Star Wars and so on period with all the spaceships, and doing little clips or movies was like the fascination.
Hmm.
And it never found a home where I could do anything with it. It sort of, it was making people look like they were right, that I was wasting my time. But once the CNC became available to everybody, the various skills that I've got, I've been able to combine them to achieve what I'm achieving. Where in a lot of cases people know how to 3D design, and there's people out there that know how to operate CNCs like much better than I will for a very long time, if ever. So, like, it was just a matter of, I had the right skill set to do the job, and I was able to apply it, which was probably the main thing. And then I was given an opportunity to do so.
Yeah, that's the part that folks don't realize, that, there are so many different skills that you need to put together to do any of this, and you just never know what skill that you learned 5 years ago is going to pop up tomorrow, and nobody else has that
Yeah,
right when it's needed, and there's a
yeah,
reason that you developed it. That's
yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Well, another one which sort of like opened up a few doors for me with CNC is, as little as 10 years ago, there used to be a lot of lumber yards that we had locally that I'm only new to timber. I only just started in timber probably about 3 years ago. And there was a lot of lumber yards, and there was also a lot of workshops that had large lathes that could turn a 3 or 4 meter long piece of wood that's half a meter in diameter or something like that. But the way we've been going for the last 10 to 20 years at least, everyone's been turning to a service orientated industry where you just buy something from China and then sell it and make money sort of thing is basically what a majority of people are
Yeah.
doing. We've lost a lot of skill sets in our society. And that was sort of like highlighted when a customer walked into a shop that I contract to, and he just wanted pillars turned, and they were about 2.8 meters long, or just about 3 meters long, and 400 in diameter, and he couldn't find anyone to do it in Sydney. And we ended up, I just said, oh, let's give it a go on the fourth axis. I put it on the fourth rotary axis, and bang, and we got a lot of work as a result of that. So we as a society, particularly in light of what's been happening, the easy free life or free ride that we've been having with China, that's coming to an end, and we need to get back to learning how to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and combining skills and so on, and it's the only way forward. And I think CNC, not necessarily for router, but just numerical control. It's the same skill set whether you're doing robotics to pick stuff up, robotics to cut stuff, or even production machines where you're just picking up a part off one conveyor line and moving it to another conveyor line. What we're currently doing as a hobby now, this is very important for manufacture and production in the future. And I've been encouraging a lot of parents to get their kids a small laser cutting unit, or a small, like the little 1820, those little cheap ones. For a few $100s, kids can get started on having the ability to turn non-tangible ideas into tangible items. But then again, they also need, as we were saying, they need to learn a few skill sets. They need to know how to design in CAD. They need to know how to design 3D.
Yeah.
They need to know aspects of 3D modeling. Then there's a lot of material skills, like you need to know the materials that you're working with, be it wood, plastic, metal, etc. So all of that sort of stuff does matter. And I think just in this instance here, everything fell into place.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've got three different guys now that have had ideas for something and had no idea how to even begin to do that. They knew that I've done it, so I've really been helping three of them to develop some prototypes and stuff, and a couple of them are pretty cool. Can't really talk about it because of the NDA stuff and all that. And I'm basically doing it for nothing. I'm giving them my machine time, like trying to teach them how to, to do this stuff, because I don't really want to, I don't really, these guys need some help and I don't really want to charge them. But it's kind of fun to see in 2 out of the 3 now of like, oh man, I got to get one of these machines for myself so I can do my own stuff. And to me, that's the best. That's the best. That's the best feeling right there. It's like, yep, you're right. You absolutely do.
Earlier today, I saw a post. One of a fellow that I met a couple of years ago at an educators conference that was put on by Haas, the machine tool company.
Yeah.
Gene Haas Corporation.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a location just above Niagara Falls. The Orleans, I believe, is the name of the town, where they put in a BOCES. BOCES is a program here that teaches the trades and technical things, nursing, and everything that colleges generally don't. The skilled things.
Yeah.
So they have this.
That's a New York State term, BOCES.
Yeah. So they have this center, and Haas Corporation apparently funded the building of this new center there, and they're still moving stuff in, yet the first class of seniors is now going through their processing. And so there was like a quick video tour, on on Facebook this morning where the guy's walking through and he says, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so," he's talking to the kid at the machine. He says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm designing this part." "Oh, great." And the next 5 kids, they're all designing that part. And he says, "Okay, what are you doing?" And he walks over by the mills and says, "Well, I'm setting up these parts." And then another kid, further down, he says, "Well, I'm making my part and I'm working on the second part right now." And they go through this room. There's probably 35 kids in that room, all learning high-end CNC skills. And in fact, at the end of the line, there was a couple of kids working on the CMM to take accurate measurements to inspect the parts to make sure that they met the standard. And they were all following this free curriculum that Titans of CNC put out to build, their
Actually,
parts.
We
Titans of
need
CNC.
that so much.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Titans of CNC. Titans of CNC do some good educational stuff. That young skinny guy, I can't think of his channel name. He also does a great job with a lot of tutorials, etc. And he builds a lot of projects on the side with younger people, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The young skinny
Oh.
guy.
Yeah.
There's a
Leave
young
me
skinny
out.
guy. He's the only really skinny guy that I've seen operating CNCs and doing tour. NYCNC, New York
Oh
CNC.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that
The
would
young
be
skinny
John
guy.
Saunders. Well, there's two of them. There's John Saunders and then there's John Grimsmo. They're both YouTube guys who taught people, what to do.
Yeah.
Saunders has got his own school where he teaches classes. He's got it set up with Tormax and Haas machines, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he might actually have one or two. Oh, not Tornos. Anyway, he's got a ton of machines in there, and you can go down for a 3 or 4 day class and learn how to operate the machines or how to program.
Yeah, no, he's actually not bad. I don't mind watching a lot of his content. He's quite good.
Yeah. Both of those guys started in basically their garage or bedroom, depending on which one you're talking about, and they built up to the place where they have a multi-million-dollar business each. Each one of them has. One guy makes $1,000 pocket knives. The other guy makes fixture plates,
Yeah.
and vices. So, I mean, it's just amazing. Got one more for us, Ned?
Yeah, I've just put 2 photos. This was the from the final product from the conceptual design that I initially. So that's sort of like maybe a little bit of a better picture of the final product, and that's got the bezel around it and the glass on there. And then the second photo that I just uploaded was a year ago when I did the conceptual design that I presented to them for the spinner.
Find the second one. It's still loading. Yeah.
It's taking a long time to get all the way from Australia.
Oh yeah, our internet's so slow, it's probably holding it back.
Well,
So
that
that
is
was your
gorgeous.
original.
That was the original design that I presented. This is what I'd like to do for the wheels. It wasn't my idea to put the spinners on there. Jim, it was Jim's idea to put the spinners on there. He looked at the Rolls-Royce. Apparently Rolls-Royce have a spinner that goes in their hubcaps, and I think a few other companies do as well now. But he said, I'd like something like this. What can you do? So that was the idea that I came up with for it.
Can't have that Rolls-Royce logo upside down.
No, that's just fantastic work.
That's very, very cool. Like you said, Ned, that's a once in a lifetime
It
thing
is,
to be
yeah.
able to do something like that.
Yeah. Look, I've done a fair bit of like spectacular stuff that I initially thought I might have been out of my depths, and it's come up good in wood and so on. But it's still sort of like mainstream, but just the uniqueness of where this was being applied and used and so on. It's just something that's it's going to be a talking point for a while.
That's fantastic. What do you think is going to be next after this?
As in machine wise.
Yeah, what now when you get this project done out the door,
Oh, for
what
me,
yeah.
well, look, I've been my goal. I actually started with a CNC purely to build trophies for my rifle club because over here in Australia, and as you're starting to feel in America, there that people have this dislike for guns for some reason. And there's not a lot in the range of trophies and awards. I think you could count them on one or two hands. Like, I think like there's only about 5 to 10 different shooting trophies and awards, unless you want to make something yourself. And so that was my motivation. So I got a CNC in 2019, but I've been setting up CNCs and so on, connecting them up to the networks and um, basically making them talk to their computers and so they can access their files. I've been doing all the background technical stuff, and I thought, hang on, I know how to do most of this stuff. Let's give it a go. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and sort of like it's gone from there. So um, it's where was my train heading there? Now I forgot. But um,
I asked you what
as
you were
far
doing next. Yeah.
yeah
I
yeah,
think
and
you
as
just
far
fell
as
off and hit your head.
yeah, as far as what I'd be doing next or what the next project, it's sort of like it's very hard um to see. It could be anything. As I said, I've done a fair bit of stuff in wood. It's been quite impressive, but this stuff's good. Um, I want to do trophies, plaques, but then move more to heraldry. I think you guys call them shadow boxes,
Mhm.
but actually incorporate there's a few of you guys doing that already. Where you're doing the insignias for the various units or
Mhm.
the types
Yeah.
of cores and so on that you have, and just putting people's grandfathers' medals on display for them and things like that. And I'd like to do it in a very elegant way that it was done back in the 20s and 30s and 40s with the pillars and the
Mhm.
scrolls and stuff like that. Yeah, just fancy it right up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm heading with it. That's how I got the job actually, because I was working on an AIF, the the Rising Sun. We call it the Rising Sun, or the Australian Imperial Forces badge, what it was called originally.
Mhm.
And that's where my crown was spotted, and they said, "Oh, we like that crown," sort of thing. So
It's
yeah,
pretty. I've been studying the classical orders and the stuff, and it's that what they did is just incredible. The
mm,
the columns and the pedestals and the
yeah,
crowns and the different things and how they all fit together, and yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I still
yeah, no,
haven't.
absolutely.
There is a book in the Gutenberg project, Project Gutenberg.
Yep,
Where they have all the old books.
the heraldry one.
Yeah, there's a heraldry one, and there's ones also on the art of ornamentation, I believe it's called. And
I have.
go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
It it
Yeah. Sorry,
Uh,
you talk. You talk. You talk.
it tells you how to make all those really complex designs that they used to do, take for
yeah,
granted when they
yeah.
decorated ceilings and the outsides of houses and things like that. Go ahead.
The thing
I've,
that I
I've
find really interesting is the proportionality of all of that stuff. It's
Yeah,
very simple, really. You
yeah.
know, 2, 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, whatever. I mean the way, and it's the same thing through all of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Geometry. I apologize to my geometry high school teacher when I told her I would never ever use that stuff again. I was wrong. Very wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah. Free book that you can go and download, and uh, I actually think it's faster in CAD to do some of the stuff, because once you see
It,
how they were doing it with a compass and a ruler, uh, you know, and most CAD packages now will snap to like midpoints and endpoints and things like that. So it makes your life really easy.
well, I think the one of the things that really amazed me was they didn't have rulers. They had straight edges, and they had compasses and dividers, and that's
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
They didn't have 12, tape measures or rulers or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the designs that I did, which was a Tudor rose, one of the customers actually provided me with a picture. And it was a carving that his grandfather did of England. It's a thing called the Knights of the Round Table, or King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Apparently, it's a big board that's hanging up in one of the castles in England somewhere that they only recently uncovered. And it was a project that it was just a project that a lot of young kids used to do in school, is to carve the Tudor rose. And he wanted this as an accent on his house design. I've just uploaded a picture where I've converted that from the actual picture to the and I've also put a picture of of an example of one of the heraldic displays from World War One, etc. But the second picture, which will be coming up in a second, that was a way to convert it. But even with that belt buckle, a lot of the items on there, once you start to learn how to use the modeling software, even a straight or whatever, or like a leaf or something like that, you can once you actually have the general design of it, you can bend it, twist it, curl it, things like that. To do more, like and once you've got one of the leaves, you can keep pasting them. That's one of the techniques that I use. So there's really only probably 2 or 3 leaves on there, and some of it I've sort of like copied from some of other people's work, etc. as well. Or copy the design of it, sort of thing, and then what you do is you modify it from there yourself. But yeah, it's been a big learning process for me, learning how to do things like fleur de lis and things like that. It's yeah. And there's a lot of good tutorials. If you I use Rhino 3D. It's a jewelry design. It's predominantly used by jewelry designers. And there's a guy called PJ Cheng does a lot of great tutorials on YouTube where he does things like fleur de lis, and he'll do various ring designs and things like that. He's predominantly a jewelry designer. He's got some great tutorials with working with that stuff as well.
Yeah, there's just so much talent out there. So many people who've taken the time to learn the software and to get good at it and to, you know, tackle these types of designs. I got to take my hat off to them because it's not an easy task.
One of the things that I found is if you can isolate a part or an aspect of a design, work on that, and don't try and do the entire design in one hit. Break it up into sections, and you'll find that once you've got that one section applied, like like if you look at that Tudor rose, it's really only, it's got 2 components that I had to design in it. Actually 3 components. One was that little center button with the seed crosses like in the center of the flower. Then I designed one of the petals, and I designed one of those small little diamond shaped sort of leaves that he had there. And then you basically position them and copy them. And then once you've got and that was the inside one, then the outer flowers or the outer leaves are exactly the same things, but scaled up a bit bigger. It was basically the same design. So initially it looks very complex, but there was only 3 components to it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people when they look at something, is to be able to put it into exactly what you just said, to break it down into, okay, I need to start here. And it's also, good to start from the bottom and work your way out. And then versus it's funny because versus when I do my hand carving, it's totally the other way around. You start from the top and work your way down. So
And you've got to lay
it's
it
the
out
same
for
thing, but it's just backwards. And
Yeah.
together, and believe it or not, that when I finally started to do more of the hand carving stuff, that really helped me in the 3D modeling stuff, even though it's backwards, but it's the same thing.
And there's the final product.
There you go. Cool.
It looks like arcs in the center button.
I actually use Boolean to detract those. I actually can't remember how I did that, but I think I used a Boolean to just, it wasn't difficult. It was like there's a few different ways that you can do it, but I started off with a round circle. I then put the curves around it. And then I just basically Boolean them off the surface, and it ended up, and that's how I reproduced that design.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. I like it. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's like a master class tonight in intricate 3D design. So this is very cool, Ned. Good work.
It's not hard. You've just got to not let it scare you.
Yeah.
And just not let it scare you away from doing it. It's just start somewhere, pick an aspect of it and just start on it, and work to achieve it, sort of thing. And then you do the next piece, and it's surprising how much you can learn. And although I've been doing 3D design for a very, very long time, every time you go to do something, there's something always pops up as a bit of a challenge, and I actually welcome that. I find that very interesting and challenging, and want to push more forward with it, sort of thing. So all I can say is don't let it scare you. Just start somewhere and give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted something earlier this week about, how to do the waves behind these 3D flags that everybody's doing.
Yep.
That I had forgotten that I had posted that a while ago, but yeah, it's always start at one point, grab some detail and just go. I had a thing I wanted to share. This is a project that was had started where I was taking a 3D project and doing the tracing to establish the vectors and everything to create a 3D carving of the eagle. And I got further along. Let me see if I can switch to the other. Yeah. And you can see in Aspire how I was laying things out. But I really only created one feather and then, just pulled and pushed and twisted to get to the point, and then, start creating your 3D objects and layering them and doing all sorts of things. I don't know if I've got a picture of it further along in the development process, but that, it's just an example. And then you just have to take it one step at a time.
Yeah, and the other thing that looks like you've copied it, but there's actually a feature in a lot of design programs where you can split the design in half, and it'll mirror. So you're only working on one half of it, and it's reproducing it on the other side as well.
I did that with a good portion of that, because it does get tedious. Once you mirror it, then you can tweak the feathers and make everything look slightly different, but it's much easier to split it in two.
And the other thing is, the other I was going to say is, sometimes you'll hit a wall and you can't move forward. You can't think of how to sort of like progress. Close it, start on another drawing, maybe do a bit of YouTube or something, look for how somebody else has done something similar. And one day it's just going to sort of like go, oh, this is how I can do that. And then you go back to it. And because I've got a few designs that I'm working on currently, and you hit a bit of a brick wall or you just get bored, and just give it a break and do it again later when you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
I found a picture of the original what the Tudor rose looked like. So the other one I had it sort of like superimposed over the top, but that gives you what the photo looked like that he gave me.
And let's see. Sorry, I'm slow. I should just turn on the screen sharing so you could pop them open directly.
Ah,
But yeah,
yeah.
this,
So that's what his carving did.
mhm.
But when
Yeah,
you
they
actually
are
do a
arts.
yeah, and when you do a search for Tudor rose, there's so many. There's all these little tutorials of what Mike was saying, how they explain. You do this with a compass, or you do that, to mark how you mark it out. There's actually a lot of information out there how to carve your Tudor rose. As I said, it was a big educational thing, I think, for a lot of school kids that they used
Mhm.
to do. And you can actually see the compass mark in the middle of that flower there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the round table of King Arthur. Hmm, don't know what that says.
It
Of
uses a bit
his
of Old English.
renowned
Um,
Night.
knights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just put a picture of my latest hand carving in the chat there, Bill. If you
have a
can.
look.
Okay.
It hasn't popped up yet.
Yeah, it'll be there so shortly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I didn't send it yet. Jesus.
That would be a reason why.
That would be a real good reason why.
Yeah. Cool. Um, did you say
Okay,
hand
yep.
carving?
Hand carving, yeah, that's by
Yeah.
hand.
I have a lot of respect for people that can do stuff like that by hand as well, by the way, Mike.
Yeah, it's
That's
almost done. I
beautiful.
still got a little more cleanup to do, but little touch up, but it's
And
the
wow,
hardest part about this is you gotta, at some point, you gotta say, that's enough, stop it.
Oh,
there's a fellow inside of the group who's a former Disney artist, and
oh,
he
really?
put
Raymond, yeah,
he puts out courses teaching how to hand carve like this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, look, I'm pretty good with tools like etc. for most stuff, but when it comes to doing carvings like that, I don't have the patience. I always try and rush it, and that's where you stuff it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So I usually have 2, 3, 4 of them going at the same time, because one, you'll get to a point where it just frustrates you and you gotta just put it aside and go on to another one, and then a week later or 2 days later or something, you'll pick it back up and do it. Yeah.
this this was one I did a while ago that was my first attempt at doing the waving flag type thing. Um, surprisingly simple as far as vectors go, but like you can see, I use these curves. Let's see. I don't know if you can see them very well
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
To drive the waves for the flag, and I use these different drive rails here to constrain it so that it would pump out different things. You can see I was editing different style waves and things like that to try and get, exactly what I wanted. But
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
if I could give you a tip that might help you out,
Hmm.
the way that I would use that is I'd use a feature called sweep to rails in
Yeah.
and what I would do is you do those curves, but I would do the rails acrossways where you want
Hmm.
the wavy feature to appear. So what you do is and when you actually when you do the rail, so what you do is you create two rails, then you create the profile of how you want the loop to go. And
Yeah.
one of the features, and again, this is obviously design package specific, how much options, etc. they have, is you can constrain to height. So as
Mhm.
it goes along,
Yeah,
it'll maintain the
you
height,
can,
or you can
right,
have it go
Yeah.
higher.
yeah.
So as your rails open up, it'll actually it'll make that profile that you've created go wider and or higher. So
Mhm.
and that's how you'd get that way you can get your waves the way you want.
Yeah.
I
And that's,
don't know if you use
yeah, part of what I did also was like I have some layers turned off and things, but I was these are the forms that create the wave along the pattern. But I have there's another layer on here where I have 5 or 10 different waves, some more advanced, some less, advanced. And that 3D drawing probably had a few more than one turned on. Let me put it that way.
okay.
Yeah, because I just like I searched and found the file as an example to just to show. But realistically, if I were carving this, it would be an expensive piece to carve because it's so thick. I would limit the height. I would do a lot of things differently that would make it so that you can afford to make this thing, because nobody's going to want like 4/4 wood to try and make something this size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Ned was saying, and I think in the Vectrix, there's a limit to height. But
Yep.
also what I found that I think works a little better is to take and set up a couple of guidelines that are the thickness of the wood apart, and then just draw your curves between those two lines, and it seems to flow better that way.
Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, I had a bunch of different
Yeah,
components turned up.
you had a couple there.
Yeah. So, it just varies. But like I said, if I went back into this design and tried to make a change right now, it would probably take me a half an hour to remember what I did when I created it a year ago or 2 years ago, or how, but it's just one of those files.
I saw one today on, I think it was in one of the hand carving groups in Facebook, where the guy did, and it was hanging, flat on a wall, and it was actually, I don't know, 2x4, 3x5, and he hand carved the whole thing. It was
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
There's so much talent out there. And what is this one?
That was
Ned?
actually that was actually where that Knights of the Round Table thing came from. Apparently, and that is actually the original wall hanging that's been hanging, that was found somewhere in some castle. I can't remember right now because it was a couple of years ago that I looked at it. But apparently, I always thought King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table was just a bit of a fable sort of thing. But there might be some, I don't know how much truth there is to it or whatever, but that is the original, or that is a old big wall hanging that they found only recently. And yeah, I don't know whether that supports the existence of a King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Or, anyway, I always thought it was a thing, but that's hanging up on the wall in the castle, and that's where that that design that his grandfather did came from.
That is pretty amazing. Wow.
Talking of hand carvings, there's a guy that I've got him on Facebook, but I'm just going because I've got one of his pictures saved. Where's the? You guys go. I'll just sort of got to find it, sort of thing.
I don't know. I've always enjoyed working in the 3D stuff, but I have to be in the right mood to want to do it, because you lose track of time when you're creating this stuff, and you're always making minor adjustments, and trying to get it just perfect. And I don't know. It is fun. It is challenging. It's
There's a,
Yeah.
I sent that file. There's a picture of the 3D thing that I started on today.
Did you hit send?
Yeah, it did. It's a file. It's
It, it must have to go out to space on a Starlink to come back to us first. It's
yeah,
not.
it went past Ned's house on the way.
It took the shortcut, did it?
Yeah.
Went from Boston to Sydney to Syracuse.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's a web address. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to maybe share that,
Yep. Working.
that that's a guy here in Sydney, or he's just down towards Wollongong, and he does. I've been sort of like just watching him. I've got him on Facebook, and he carves all of these out by. He does the logos for the ships, or the crests for the ships, whatever you call them.
Mhm.
And he carves them by hand out of wood, out like how you were saying, the big blocks of wood sort of thing.
Mhm.
But he does that by hand. I think there should be more pictures down that actually shows him doing them, etc.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this linen fold stuff. It really makes something like this look so much better. More detailed. Hard.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I don't
Anyway,
know what.
that was some of his work. It was more so the woodwork and the
Yeah.
hand carving that he does. And on his
Yeah.
site, he has a lot more pictures, etc. It really is spectacular, the level of work that he does.
Let's see. 3D Vest, Sign, Pirate, and Gibbs.
Yeah,
You sent the actual.
it should be a photo, I think.
No, it's a 3D. Carved 3D.
Oh, is it? All right, I sent the wrong thing then. Oh well.
Okay.
Don't
I
worry
mean, I
about
don't mind having it, but
it. No, I don't. I don't care.
yeah.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, everybody out there saying, me, send me the file, send me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mine. Uh, anyway, it's cool to share this stuff.
I don't know why I didn't.
I was trying to find the mirror frame that I did a few years ago, but it's eluding me. It's on here somewhere, but goodness knows if I can find it.
There it is. Try that one. That's the picture, I think. Oh, I guess I gotta send it first. Jesus, I didn't sleep last night for obvious reasons, but anyway.
Yeah.
Pirate wheel.
Yeah. That one should open.
Mm-hmm. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That little
Yeah.
pug dog.
Yeah, Boston Terrier.
Okay.
Yeah. I gotta take the flowers out. Nobody likes the flowers on the bottom, but
Okay.
that's what I feel like putting it in. I think I'm gonna
I think if you didn't have the skull and crossbones on him, the flowers would fit in. I'd probably replace it with shells and starfish or something. I don't know, maybe a treasure chest.
I think I'm gonna put some treasure some Spanish coins and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep.
You're still in the process with this one, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so you haven't added the 3D features on the dog yet that you wanted to, or
No, I haven't
Yeah.
done a lot of things yet.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Add
yeah.
a pile of dog bones that he's guarding.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could actually make it the skull and crossbones.
Yeah. Exactly.
There you go. Yeah, the bones.
Yeah. You're the bones.
Actually, move the crossed bones into his mouth. That he's actually biting
Yeah.
on the
That he's
black.
actually biting on it. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, wow.
Perfect. Yeah.
Anyway.
Cool work, guys. Cool work.
All right. I'm
Well,
out of here.
it is,
Yeah.
it is 9 o'clock, and I think that's probably enough sharing for one evening. If
Actually,
you
I've just put up that AIF badge where I've taken it from a photo that I found, and that's got the linen scrolls on it as well that you were mentioning.
yeah, real
And
quick.
those linen scrolls, when you look at it on the timber, they really do pop out.
Now, if you are watching this inside of the CNC Router Tips group and you'd like to join us sometimes, we do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we post a link inside of the group if you'd like to come and join us. Now, this is pretty impressive work you got here again, Ned.
Yeah, I found that photo on the internet and I went, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Now, the irreverent part of me says, ooh, I like all the French fries. But
Yeah.
I'm sure those are sunbursts or something behind it. Yeah.
It's actually they represent the bayonets of the various rifles that they used in the Boer Wars and so on.
Mhm.
So you've got some Enfield bayonets there. So it was basically representing swords and bayonets, etc.
Gotcha. Yeah. Nice work.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah.
all right, cool. Guys, thanks again for hanging out with me.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate you taking the time and sharing all this cool stuff with us today. So, come next week, guys, inside the CNC Router Tips group. I'm going to post this one actually to YouTube. Who knows? We may get some folks to come from there.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Have a good night,
Have a good one.
everybody. Take care. Have a
See
good
you later,
day,
guys.
Ned.
Have a
See ya.
good
Oh,
one.
and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year because I
Yeah,
was actually
there you
away
go.
for a little bit. Catch you later, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Same to you.
Bye.